Good girl, hunt him up.
Well, lady boys and lady girls and everything in between, I'm here to tell you we have a fantastic cooking meat episode today. I have always considered myself an avid outdoorsman, a shepherd of the forest, a huntsman, a warden of the high plains. And I'm very proud that this episode we're gonna be cooking and eating something that I hunted myself. Not 100% sure what we got out there, but it was definitely a bird. So today, we're cooking bird breast. 65% sure we got some sort of waterfowl, and I'm almost positive it's not a pigeon. And what we're gonna do with this bird breast is something that I'm very excited to do on camera today, because I'm gonna try and create a dish. Kind of a new thing. I've never actually done this before. The last restaurant that I worked on, the rough draft menu had this item on there. As we went through the menu and kind of checked off things that we wanted to try or whatever, this didn't make the cut to like the testing phase when we tested the menu. So I never actually made this. This has only been kind of a half-cocked idea I've had for a couple years. But I figured, you know what? Why not here on Cooking Meat? Why don't I show you, instead of going into something that I absolutely know will work, a confident dish that I've sold 1,000 times, I'm gonna try something new. And we'll see the process and we'll see if it's good together. But either way, this will be a fun way to try and kind of explain my thought process as I go through it and why I wanted to add some certain elements to it. Then we'll go from there and we will make a special new dish. Let's cook some kind of bird. Let's get into it. So what we want to do, I watched this Canadian chef do this really cool thing. He was doing a bunch of duck and foie gras and like eggs cooked in maple syrup. And I kind of just got me going. I was like, oh, you know, that's kind of a really cool idea. I want to steal some of those elements and kind of bring it to this sort of thing. The restaurant that I was working at, the theme of the restaurant, or the theme of the menu, I guess you could say, was like international upscale street food. We were throwing out all kinds of crazy ideas from all over. I thought, I was like, hey, why don't we do a Canadian street food? And it'll be like this duck breast pancake thing. Obviously, there's no Canadian street food that's like a duck breast pancake. So that's why we didn't use it, because it's just kind of an invented thing. I've always thought about it. I always thought this would actually be pretty good. What we're trying to do, I wanted a savory pancake of sorts. So that's kind of your base. I want to do a classic seared duck breast, seared foie gras, a little rosemary maple syrup, and then a little fried egg on top, right? So that's just a big savory thing. In my head, all of those things together sound fantastic. So we're gonna get into it. We're gonna first make a potato pancake. If you wanna do the old fashioned way, whole potatoes, peel them, grate, or you don't even have to peel them, but you just grate them, then get like a cheesecloth or something and just squeeze out all the liquid to get them dry. You can also do it with just frozen hash browns, and we're gonna do it that way because we are pressed for time. I have to eat this whole bird before Parks and Wildlife find out what we've done. Potato pancakes have been around for 1 billion years. A lot of Eastern European countries have some sort of potato pancakes, latkes, all those things. We want the star of the show to be the duck breast and the foie gras. So we are going to just kind of make this a very basic, simple potato pancake. Gonna dump a little bit in there. We don't need a lot. We're making this for us. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna give it a little salt, some fresh cracked pepper. We're going to beat an egg first before we enter it in there. Kind of incorporate that in there. Salt, pepper, potatoes, just. So the next thing we're gonna do, we got our eggs kind of all worked into our potatoes. We're just gonna add a little bit of flour to thicken this guy up. For potato pancakes, there's usually like, it's half a cup of flour to 1 egg to, you know, half pound potato, or whatever it is. I don't want this a big, thick potato. Remember, this isn't the star show. It's just almost like the base of what we're doing. So I'm not gonna add a ton. Maybe, I don't even know, dude. I would say maybe like a teaspoon of flour at this point. Maybe a teaspoon and a quarter. So we're gonna add a teeny bit of scallion in there. And this doesn't have to be pretty because it's just gonna be mixed up and kind of throw it in there. We're not garnishing it with this. We're doing it for a little onion flavor, and we're doing it for nice little pops of green in there. All right, so we'll set this off to the side, and next we'll get our bird breast ready to cook. If you wanna learn how to butcher up a duck, please go back to our previous video, Tequila Braised Duck Taquitos, because I show you how to carve up an entire duck. This, I'm not sure if it's a duck. I'm pretty positive. It could be a goose. It could also be a sandhill crane. It could also be a blue heron, and if that's the case, we're in big trouble. Either way, this is some sort of waterfowl. Waterfowl are birds that live in the water. Geese, duck, teal, coots, herons, flamingos, penguins, duckbill platypus. Those kinds of animals are all gonna be they live in cold water, so they're gonna have a lot of good fat on them. And from that fat is where we can do a lot of things. In the Duck Taquitos episode, I mentioned that if I was just to cook the breast by itself, I would leave the skin on. I took that skin off to make oil out of it, but since we're just cooking the breast alone, we're gonna leave the skin on, right? So the first thing you want to do is we want to score the skin for two reasons. Cook it a little bit more evenly, because what we're doing is we're going to render the fat out. We're going to hit the fat side down first and render it out. So if it's a whole piece, the middle of it is going to take longer to render out than like the sides. So it's going to be a little even. It's also going to take a little longer to cook the meat on the bottom. So if we have it whole and we do it whole, it's not bad, but the middle part is probably not going to be cooked as evenly, and it's going to take a little longer to get to the flesh. It's going to take a little longer to cook the meat without burning. So it just kind of helps us in the cooking process. So we're going to score the skin, and we're going to do it back on the other side. You just want to get the fat. So now we're going to do two things at once. We got our hot pan for the duck, and we're going to have we're gonna get both pans hot. All right, so while our pans are starting to get warm, game birds like duck and goose and teal and all that, it can be cooked medium rare. And these are kind of like a very savory, fatty pieces of meat. For this, I'll kind of do a steak rub. Like again, we're just gonna keep it simple. So the same rub I do for steak, I'm gonna do right here. Salt, pepper, garlic powder, keep it simple. As is tradition, 1 part fresh cracked pepper, which is 25 cranks. We've got this down to a science now. It's indestructible at this point. Garlic powder, 1 part. This duck breast is not a huge, thick piece of meat. It's nice and fatty, but you can see, I mean, it's not that much. And we want to try and keep this as medium rare as we can, right? So we're not going to give a generous helping. We're going to give a regular helping of seasoning. So it's pretty good for that side. We're going to do the duck breast first because we're going to let it rest just like a steak. So as that's kind of going, then we'll kind of get the potato pancake. For the duck breast, we're going to use some rendered duck fat, and then we're going to add in our duck breast fat side down. Moving around. For the potato pancake, a nice big chunk of butter and a smidgen of duck fat. So now while this is going, do one little thing. We're gonna turn this on the smallest burner on lowest setting. We're gonna add a little bit of maple syrup and like a little sprig of rosemary. So as you can see, like I said, we're trying to keep this medium rare. That skin is already crisping up pretty good. So if it was whole, if it wasn't scored, like the meat's probably not even starting to cook yet. It would take a little bit longer to get that cooked, and the fat's starting to render out a little more evenly. But you're doing good here. You know what? It's just for me, all right? If you have a wound on your hand, wear a glove. But you know what? It's just for me. Whatever, dude. So here is this potato pancake, super simple, and we're gonna drop it in this oil like that. Yep, we're almost there. It's hard to see because of the pan, but the meat is finally starting to cook on that side. We've kind of got through the fat, so we'll give it another maybe a minute or two on the fatty side, and then give it a flip, and then we're just gonna let it do its thing for another minute or two. All right, you know, from the color of the skin and the way this is crisping up, I'm gonna guess goose at first. We'll see how it tastes. Goose has a very distinct flavor. It very well could have been a goose. There was a lot of birds in that flock. All right, now we got it. Nice and crispy. Flipped it over. Give it a go on that side for another minute or two. That potato pancake working. Adjusting your temperatures when you're cooking in sautés and stuff like that really helps, especially unless you're like just doing that and paying attention, you know what I mean? Like I'm walking around doing other things, explaining stuff, trying to figure out what fucking bird I killed. You know, now that I flipped it over, it's shrunk a little bit. Goose are big. This could be a coot. I'm gonna guess coot now. This is a kind of water bird. Looks like kind of like a duck, kind of. You know what? This is a duck. It's gotta be a duck. One time I ate a crow and I know what that looks like, and that's definitely not a crow. All right, so yeah, we're gonna kind of give it a little help on this side. Feel the heat, because again, the outside is done. Look at that, that's perfectly cooked outside. We're gonna give a little help on this side, and on this side. You can baste it if you want to baste the duck like a steak, you know, you can take that butter and duck fat and baste the skin if you really want. All right, so that is our seared waterbird breast, for sure. Sandhill cranes are known as the ribeyes of the sky. The meat is supposed to taste like ribeye, and it looks like a steak, like it looks like a roast. When I flipped it over, that dark red meat, I mean, that looked pretty steaky. Sandhill crane. I killed one. I killed a sandhill crane. Hey Siri, is a sandhill crane endangered? Well, let's just hope we didn't kill a southern one there. Look at that. We might have to flip it over and crisp it up again, but we're right now, because the egg and the flour, it's kind of binding itself right now. While we're letting that rest, we're gonna, in this duck fat, we kind of let that cool off. That pan was getting hot. We're gonna sear a nice piece of foie gras. Foie gras is fatty goose liver, and how it's made is basically corn is stuffed down their throats. Just like what happened to us in the early 2000s on terrestrial FM alternate rock radio. Oh yeah, we got a pancake. We got ourselves a pancake. This goose liver, it's very fatty, it's very rich, all right? I'm gonna butterfly this. Cut right down the middle. Now we got 2 pieces, and we're gonna sear this, the same pan that we cooked the duck in. All right, this is probably done. We're gonna turn that, we're gonna kill the heat on that guy. All right, so our pancake looks done. We're gonna put our pancake right there on our plate. Step 1 complete. That's gonna work for duck. A little salt. Other than that, it's perfect, right? So let's flip these guys. Let's flip our foie gras. Oh, my chicken littles. Throughout the season, we have been talking about how we've been trying to keep things simple, how we're not gonna be as weird and as zany as usual. I feel like we've lost track of that, so we've come to realize that we may never have a corporate sponsor. But we are still open to any kind of sponsorship. Consider us a free agent. We're on the market. Still got a couple of great years left down the road, right? All right, so look at that. That is just seared, fatty goose liver. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. Now, the very last thing we're gonna do, let that cool. We're gonna let this cool off again. We're gonna fry an egg in all that fat again. A crispy, fried egg. We're just gonna let it cool off because we don't want it to burn. We're gonna keep it sunny side up. Because we don't like to waste on this show, and if you're a hunter, you shouldn't waste anything. We're gonna use the egg that we found inside the bird. Crack that open. Turn the heat back on low. And in the meantime, we're gonna start to plate everything. We're gonna put a little bit of rock salt on there. Nice big fat chunks of rock salt. For no reason, just for no fucking reason, man. This is decadence. Forget being simple, forget it. You can only hold me back for so long, Ricky. I can't just be simple. We can't just do simple things. We gotta be ourselves. We gotta be what we are in cooking meat. So let's just do it. Corporate sponsorships be damned. Someone else will take us up. Puffco? Try this one on for size. Puffco. Fuck yeah, it'll get you high. Puffco, if you wanna be like Chef Pat, get yourself a Puffco and you can be ripped all the time too. All right, so our egg is done. We're gonna chop up our chive real fast. You can go back to almost any of our videos and learn how to chop herbs the right way so you don't bruise them and you don't get green in your cutting board. Dude, we got everything, we got everything. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do our foie gras first, right? We only need one, honestly. We're gonna cut our duck breast. All right, look at that, beautifully cooked over the foie gras, like that. Look at that, you guys, we're doing it. We're gonna take some of our maple syrup, our rosemary maple syrup, let's see. Do a little drizzle of rosemary maple syrup on our duck. And the reason why we're doing this is because duck is such a fatty, savory piece of meat that adding sweet, it just really balances it out. So a lot of people put some sort of fruit or like a jam or like a compote or something sweet to go along with it, but we're gonna use maple syrup in honor of our Canadian brothers and sisters. And last, we're gonna lay a fried egg right on top. So plating wise, it looks a bit clunky with that egg right on top, right? It might be better if we either kind of cock it off to the side like that. Maybe we put some sort of sour cream right here. Potato pancakes usually have sour cream, so maybe we do like a sour cream or creme fraiche here. Maybe instead of doing chopped chives on top, we do like a chive sour cream or creme fraiche, work it into the sour cream or the creme fraiche, plop it right there. Right off the bat, I'm looking at the portion of potato pancake to duck breast probably is a little uneven, so we either need to make a big fat potato pancake, and it's like the big, almost a potato pancake crepe, or we just use less duck breast next time. Maybe we don't use a full breast, maybe we use like a half breast or something like that. So those are the kind of things we play with. So this would be like the first draft, right? Or the first run through. We're not gonna do this all day and keep making it because it was just me again. I don't know if you've been following the timeline of the episodes, but we've got to take a break from cooking and eating at some point because I barely caught up to that bird as it was struggling to escape the jaws of snake bite. Last thing to do, try on the outside, crack this egg open, let that run. So we got a little duck breast, a little egg, a little piece of foie gras, some potato pancake, and let's see if we did anything here. All right, there's definitely something there. I think we need to finish it with a little rock salt. Let's try that. We'll finish it with some rock salt and some more fresh cracked pepper right on top of it. But we're close. I mean, the fatty richness from the foie gras and the duck mixed with the sweetness, the herbiness of the rosemary maple syrup, that goes really well together. The potato pancake almost just kind of soaks it up and gives it a little crunch. I don't know if it necessarily is doing much for flavor. It's definitely a good base to have to soak up the egg, the syrup, the fat. So let's try again. Let's try again with a little more salt with rock salt finish and fresh cracked pepper. Okay. That duck breast really plumped up as we cooked it. So I probably could have used a little more seasoning on the outside because we seasoned the potatoes, the foie gras is cooked, the oil, which has a little bit of residue of salt in it, the egg, we put a little rock salt on it. But if I was to do this again, I think I'd give a little more seasoning to everything. Really season that duck breast. I think that duck breast needs to be a lot more seasoned. Happen to have a little creme fraiche. So let's just see if this does anything for it. There, take a little bit of this creme fraiche now. The creme fraiche brings it together. That's it. You need the creme fraiche. All right, wow. Okay, now we got something really cooking. That just adds another layer of flavor. Potato pancakes and creme fraiche, sour cream obviously go well together. The egg, it kind of helps break through all the fatty richness of the duck. So now it's a lot more balanced too. That kind of gives it a more balance of the plate. The salt is perfect, the cracked pepper works great. So yeah, so maybe that's what I do. So maybe next time we do a little bit less duck breast as for the plate, or more potato pancake, more seasoning on the duck. Instead of doing chopped chives, I would do a chive, like I would make chive oil and then mix it into creme fraiche and have like a chive creme fraiche. And then garnish it with maybe just like microgreens on top instead of doing all this madness. But I think we did it. I think we invented a new dish. And after having a few bites, 100% narrowed this down to what kind of bird it is. We killed a red-tailed hawk. It was a duck, 100% duck. Thank God we didn't get anything illegal. This was a great episode. This was a little insight to the mind of a chef creating a new dish. We got to test it out. We got to try little options. I think I would try this on a menu. I think I would put this out there. So thanks for joining us. Please let us know if anybody would like to sponsor us. We'll take anything at this point. Thanks for stopping in, meatheads, and we'll see you next time. Have a great hunt.